Hello, everyone. Welcome to the December 7th meeting of the Cube SIG Docs localization subgroup. This meeting is being recorded, and we do ask that you follow the CNCF Code of Conduct. And I'd like to welcome everyone. Just some small upfront things that we've taken care of. Hopefully you've seen that we have gotten the calendar meeting time now at the proper time. So it does match when the meeting is being held. Thanks to Jim Engel for helping to get that fixed. So hopefully you're now seeing the 1500 UTC time slot on your calendar. We've got several great topics today, and let me go and put in the chat window if you don't have the doc, but that is where you can find our agenda. We can start with, is there anyone that's new to this meeting that hasn't attended before? So are there anyone that's new? I know Jerry's been here before, obviously Irvi's been here before, Soko's been here before. Is it you, Raj? Have you attended before? I apologize, I don't remember. Kai Ming, I think this is your first time here, I think. So welcome.
Hi, everyone.
I can go ahead and share my screen so we can see the agenda. Share. If we see everybody's starting to put their names in, which is great. Soko, Kaming, Jerry, Irvi. Yep. And so the first topic that we have on the agenda came into Jim Engel from Kai Ming regarding localization partial updates. So Kai Ming, did you want to take some time and explain what this issue was and the concern?
Sure. Can you hear me clearly?
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. We all know the whole Kubernetes website is changing every day, every single day. For every release, we got new contents, we deprecate old ones. For localization teams, such as the Chinese localization team, we have been working very, very hard to keep everything updated. And so far, until version 1.19, the whole team has already completed almost the translation of almost all pages. That was a great milestone for the whole team. So starting from the next version, 1.20, the focus of the team will be on keeping the Chinese localization up to date when comparing to the English major version. So with that shift of focus, we will need to make sure we are tracking accurately every changes happening in the English version. So the way we are doing that is using a script. You can find under the scripts subdirectory is called lsync.sh. Using that script, we can find which page, which English page has changed since the last time the Chinese localization has been updated. We are comparing this difference using date, using timestamp, or
Ming, you still there? I think he had to go on mute for a second.
Hello, I'm back.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so we are trying to keep the Chinese localization as new as possible. So the way we are doing that is to compare the changes made since the last time a certain page has been translated or updated. So let me give you an example. Last Friday, we got a new page in the English site, for example. Then during last weekend, we have translated that page into Chinese. We commit that page into the website and get it merged. So when we are comparing the timestamp, the Chinese localization team is the page is newer than the English page. So we can believe, okay, that page is done. We keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But if later on, we got some changes happening yesterday, some contents from the English page have been deleted, and that new PR is merged. We can quickly discover that change using timestamp. But maybe we are also receiving a different PR from the Chinese localization team that is fixing a single typo.
Mm-hmm.
That is fixing a link. If we merge such a tiny PR, we will lose all the changes of the upstream changes. We have to make sure every time you propose a new PR for a page that has already been translated, this new PR will cover every changes since the last time that page was translated. Does it make sense? It's a little bit complicated.
Yeah, let me see if I can play it back to you.
Okay.
I think it comes down to if someone doesn't do a full page translation, but just does, say, a typo fix PR on a already translated Chinese page, that is going to make that page look like it's now newer than the English version of the page. And so we'll all think that the page has been properly translated, but really what's happened is it's hidden the truth.
Right, exactly. So for that reason, because our focus for the next release would be keep everything up to date. So we proposed an item in the Chinese localization style guide to help people understand the reason we made this decision and how, when we are having some question from the team, we just point people to that paragraph, read it, and raise questions if any. So that's an update. Maybe this can be applied to other localization teams. Maybe it's not applicable. I just don't know. So I brought this change to Chinese localization style in our previous meeting.
So if I come and I decide if I see a page, a Chinese page, and I see a typo, and I want to submit a PR to fix the typo, my guess is the reviewer should respond and say, I'm sorry, you have to do a full update of the entire page, because if you don't do that, it's going to cause us problems. So in that case, you don't merge the PR? Do you ask the person to either translate the full page or close the PR? Is that correct?
Yes. During the first few days, we encountered some questions, some suggestions, but after we explain the reason behind this change, people are okay with the change. So because we have already translated all pages from English version, the synchronization for the most of the time, it's not a big deal. Just a few lines of editing.
Gotcha. So,
But
this,
yeah, when I was saying a few lines, sometimes one line is one paragraph in the English version.
sure,
That
I
is a
understand.
terrible thing. Yeah.
And so this is now the best practice from the Chinese localization team, and it sounds like Kaiming, you're saying this new best practice is working very well, and you're bringing it up because we think the other teams may benefit from this best practice. Is that correct?
Yes. But if for example a team is working on not the latest version, for example today if a localization team is still working on version 1.18, so they won't have such a problem because release 18 is snapshotted, is pretty stable.
Okay, that's another great, excellent point. That's a wonderful insight. So this issue is really when you finally caught up to being on the latest version, this is when you're going to run into this issue. But if you're running on a previous version, you don't have to worry about this best practice because, like you said, it's snapshotted and there's no harm in fixing, say, typos.
Right.
That is really, really insightful. That is so cool. So those two factors together seem to make a really good best practice. Any thoughts from everyone else on the call? What a great topic. I mean, thank you for bringing it to the group.
I have a questions about this. Do we need kind of perform like a periodic jobs through Pro to check this kind of whether like the last translated pages from English to for example another localization themes, or what kind of approach that you want to do or have for this kind of like just to make sure that we don't input partial changes to original pages that actually been deleted or moved.
Page deletion and the adding of new pages happen very rare today. So for most of the upstream PRs, is about some copy editing, some bug fixing. So if you are wondering how we are checking what happened in the upstream for a particular page, we have a script for that. And that script can also check what has happened for a whole subdirectory. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so basically you still do this manually on your local then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before merging the PR, I would do a check locally.
Oh,
and
okay.
that
I thought
yeah,
like
so
you do that in like GitHub Actions or something like that, so that when someone perform what
yeah,
or
I
want to
will,
merge.
as a reviewer, I will keep my local branch updated to the master. So I will check everything on master and see if there are some remaining changes not well synchronized. I will remind the PR committer contributor to do that. And this practice has been communicated throughout the Chinese localization team, I was trying to make sure everyone as an approver will do this. So that is a team effort.
So Kaiming, it sounds like you have a process in place to effectively perform the best practice, and it involves the steps of keeping the branch up to date so you can do the proper checks.
Yeah.
For other localization teams that also use that script, is it possible for you to do just a short write-up of the steps that you described, so that if other teams use the script, they understand the way to use it the best way, properly?
Maybe I can quickly share my screen.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Sure. But the idea would be to document this somewhere for other teams, just so they know how to do it right.
Yes, that's something I can do actually.
Oh, good.
So can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet.
Bandwidth is not.
Oh, there it is. It's here.
Can you all see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this process is documented only in Chinese today.
But does this describe the process of having the local branch kept up to date so that it runs properly, I guess?
It's an explanation of the background why we made this decision, and the actual requirement for future change tracking. And here is the script. If you run this script, followed by your localized page, we will see the difference made since the last time you have translated or updated your localized page. If you replace the GH here with your language code, the script still works. If you want to check maybe all the files and the full subdirectory, just be the bar.md. It will give you a statistic for each and every page under that subdirectory, how many lines have been added, how many lines have been deleted. It's applicable to all localization teams.
Fantastic. Now, this description, do we have it on the English version of the localization page where we describe the script? Because I thought we had a section where we described the script, Irvi, and where other people could use it.
I don't think so. For
don't?
at least the lsync comment.
Okay. So
yeah,
okay.
Maybe I can propose something.
That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
To the contribution guide. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be wonderful. I'd be happy to give you a timely review and approve, Kaiming. That would be fantastic, because it's such a valuable tool, the lsync, right? It shows you all the changes, and now you have an understanding of how to use it when you're all the way updated and you're current, and what you can use it, and when it's safe to just fix typos if you're on a snapshotted back level. So it seems like it's a really proven best practice, Kaiming, that's going to help a lot of other translation teams, localization teams.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. This is great update. Soko, you have a question?
Yes, actually, Korean team also have they also use similar script, as I mentioned in the previous meeting. In the script directory, we have deep localization branches Python script. I think it is very similar with the Kim showed just before. Also, I think in that the script directory. And maybe I can share my screen. Can I share? Is it okay to share?
Sure, sure. I think timing stopped sharing, so I think you can go ahead and share.
Okay. As you can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Here in the script directory of our website, there is the script Queen mentioned, and this one is the script which Korean team use.
Hmm.
And I think there is descriptions for those scripts.
Hmm.
This script generates a report of outdated content in content localization language directory by comparing two localization team milestone branches. It just if we execute this script, you can see this kind of report. It is to report outdated files in Korean localization branch,
Hmm.
comparing with previous branch. So this shows that the changed English document in KO5, between KO5 and KO6. So we can show the changes in the upstream document. And then we use this kind of command so that we can understand which page has been changed, and we make another PR, we make a PR to resolve this outdated files like this.
Hmm.
This is actually covers 4 changes. And if you check those Korean content update is for keep up with the upstream branch. So we are doing this job for every dev branch is initiated. So maybe it is a little bit different with Chinese localization team. I think Chinese localization team use timestamp method, which Korean team does not have. But we only update after around 2 weeks or 3 weeks job. So in case of Chinese localization team, I think their approach is very good in terms of speed of the updating the localization content. But it may be very hard to maintain the difference. As Kim said, every reviewer or approver needs to check whether the changes are updated or up to date or not. So maybe localization teams have in different stage. In case of Korean localization team, we still have some documents which are not translated yet.
Hmm.
So we don't need to keep up to date for that document since we don't provide translated document yet. So if we cover whole documents, then I think Chinese localization team's approach seems nice. But in stage of Korean localization team, we prefer this way. It is maybe better way for us to maintaining the Korean localization branch and the content. Thank you.
So I think the difference here, Soko, is in your tool, it's going to show you the diffs, whether the timestamp is updated or not, correct?
We don't use timestamp.
Right. So
yeah.
So if somebody comes in and does a PR fix for a typo, your tool's still going to see the diffs that the rest of the page is still different.
Yeah. In case of typo is from the upstream English document, then we only offset that typo once the English document has been updated. Then we can offset it to localization branch as well. If it is not, then for instance, there are links for English document and Korean document. Someone tried to update this link only for Korean document, then we don't accept. We check the English document and we check whether that English document already changed or not. If it is not, then we don't accept. So we keep the we try to Korean content, try to follow the English content. Always try to follow the English content. We don't try to have the Korean only document.
So Kai-Ming, thoughts on the two different approaches? They both have obviously been successful.
Yeah. It looks to me that the Korean team is using their own branches for tracking changes. So changes are made in batch. So that is a different way. But the Chinese localization team is trying to do everything, get everything up to date. That's a different.
Yeah, it is very hard.
Pretty difficult.
Yeah, I understand.
Right. So I think both approaches have a lot of value. I think the challenge is to document, you know, where each one is used and why, right? So if you're doing a large amount of translation and really, you know, like the Chinese team, here's the best approach. If you're doing a batch-based approach and have the different branches, like the Soko's team, you know, I think it's good just to try and you know, position so as the new localization teams come on board, you can say, hey, there's two different approaches to how you can do it, maybe based on how much volume you're able to handle, how much translation you're able to handle. If you're, you know, doing the batch-based approach, you might want to use these tools. If you have a very significant effort and you're able to pretty much keep everything translated, well, you might want to use the other tools. I think that's the challenge, is just to kind of get that documented in the docs to say, here's when this approach is good and here's when the other approach is good. I think that's what would be most valuable to the other localization teams. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Kai-Ming, does that make sense to you as well?
Yes.
So I would encourage, if you all have a chance to just update, you know, where you describe the scripts, and Soko showed the page where the script was defined, maybe just adding a little and say, here's the model when this one works and here's the model when the other one works, would I think be very helpful. Okay. That was a great topic. Any more on that topic? We went into a lot of detail, but very, very valuable to understand the different approaches.
So for Japanese team, hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
So we have made our own script based on Golang, but it kind of relies on the GitHub API, which is relatively heavy. And I actually just used the Korean script, and it only uses the Python and the Git command. And I found it really light. So maybe I'm trying to use it in my next milestone. And then I can probably give some feedback if there's anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a potential that if that script works for you, maybe you could switch over.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, only I need to be careful about the difference of the translation work,
Mhm.
because obviously Japanese team and Korean team has like a different schedule for milestone, and also like a different target a little bit,
Sure.
as in like the branch strategy and such. So yeah, I have to be careful about that, but still this tool should be really useful.
Yep. Feel free to investigate and let us know how it goes. That
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, very exciting. Okay. So Kai-Ming, I think we've covered your topic fully. It was a great topic. Uh, okay. Kohei, you're next.
Okay.
Would you like to go? You're next on the agenda.
Yeah, I can talk. So this was actually me and Avi. Yeah.
Okay.
So so this pull request in the link basically provides context, and I can share the screen quick.
Sure.
Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, here's the pull request, and this is just a typo fixing. I forgot. Oh yeah, so here's the typo in here, and this is Japanese. So I consider this kind of pull request, even if it's just a slight typo, because it doesn't include any English letters, such as like if there was a typo in endpoint size, I would say it's fine to be reviewed by any other languages people, but because it's a typo for the Japanese language specific topic, I asked Avi not to give unapproved, just please give LGTM if you feel it's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what happened here.
So it got an approval before the Japanese reviewers had a chance to actually review.
No,
No?
I mean one reviewer got LGTM.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but we tend to be careful about merging pull requests. At least we need more than 2 people's like LGTM or approve from Japanese side.
Okay.
Yeah, so we want to follow the rule. So yeah, in many cases it's fine, but this is where it's not fine for our team. So that's what I said here.
So what is the rule for next time so that this doesn't happen again? You have to wait for 2 LGTMs or
Yeah. 2 LGTM by Japanese reviewers, that will be fine for merging pull request. Because like, for example, if I make a pull request by myself, right? And we have 2 owners that who have review permission. Merge permission. So like I sometimes merge my pull request by myself by giving approve, right? But I still wait at least for 2 reviewers to give LGTM. Then I can do it finally.
And then so Irby was thinking of a different solution, it looks like, to solving the problem. Is that right, Irby?
Yeah. So basically, do you have some kind of rules on this? Maybe we can kind of check the rules here. So this kind of things doesn't happen again in future. And I want to say sorry because I can't read Japanese, so that's why I just approve it. But I noticed that this is not really a good example of doing that. So I was thinking if it's possible to kind of separate the owner and admin for each localization. So even though you are like the owner of the whole repo, you can still merge it unless the localization is already approved that specific PR.
Yeah, while I understand what you're saying, but it's kind of too specific because, when it comes to English, it means like you have permission for everything, like including like slash localization in the directory, for example, right? So like oh, this one, I18N. So for each language, we have content, then like each language permission separated. But for, I think, it applies only here, right? When you have English merge permission, you have permission for everything, right? That's the current status, right?
Yes.
Mm. Can we actually separate that?
I'm not sure either. So that's more like a question, actually.
I think I think we just need a guideline. Maybe even though English, if even if the,
Wait,
I think
wasn't it because of this? SIG Doc lease. You have permission here.
Oh, so okay. So I think that's because of that.
I guess so.
Mhm.
I think it makes sense. They have all permissions then.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, in general, like, I don't believe with my status, am able to go approve a Japanese PR, correct? I'm not a chair. I'm just an English approver.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have some experimentation to validate. I mean, like validate if it's true or not. But yeah, I think that. So yeah.
Because it's not as big a problem if it's only this small group, right? So if it's only this small group that could potentially cause the problem, we just have to educate that small team to say, hey, wait for 2 LGTMs, and not someone like Brad who shows up, and shows up and goes, oh, I'll approve this, right? That doesn't know what it's doing. So if that's the case, Irvi, then it's probably just a matter of educating the SIG Doc leads, and we probably have a simpler solution that probably will be okay.
Could you please link the rules for your for your localization team here, so I can take a look into that either.
I mean, we did not have any specific rules for that specifically, but like, in general, when you try to give an approve on something, you have to have the responsibility on what you're doing, right? So I think
exactly.
It's more like that. I mean,
Okay.
making rules make everything more strict. So I personally don't really like it. I mean, yeah, as long as it makes sense, it's okay. But for this specific case, I'm not sure if making another rule is a better solution for this.
But how do we keep it from happening again? So if the situation comes up again, is it just Irvi should never do an approve for a Japanese PR fix? Is that what is the proper way to fix this going forward? So it doesn't happen again.
So here is Siming. So to be honest, I have been with the SIG Docs team for about 3 years. I rarely see this thing happen. If we really see such happy accident, that's forget it and keep going. So this thing doesn't really happen every day.
It doesn't
really.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't, right? It doesn't need a special rule, a new guideline. I don't think we have such a requirement. Do you agree?
Right, but it's kind of tribal knowledge that says hey, unless you really are working day to day in that localization, you probably shouldn't approve even a typo PR. That's how I interpret it, right?
Yeah, as a general guideline, maybe we can propose something.
Yeah.
So each localization team has their own guidelines.
Approval
Their
process.
approval privileges.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that language, better not touch it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. Irvi has higher status. So Irvi, what are your thoughts? Irvi, is that something you can just communicate to the rest of
Oh
the
yeah.
doc leads?
So if let's say we have a specific for each localizations team on how we can kind of review that, because like for example, I can review the PR because I can read Japanese, but it doesn't mean that I have the full control of approving that, and I realize that's wrong. So maybe if, let's say, we know the process of reviewing for each of the localizations, we can be more careful about what we are doing. That's suggestions from my perspective. I know, because I mean, if let's say the localizations team is only having like 2 owners or something like that, then it will be more easier for us to communicate to each others. But if let's say the localization team is quite large, then maybe we will need such a rules. I'm not sure actually, but that's what I thought.
Well, I would say it a little bit different. I know for the English, we talk about the process for when an approval is done, or how an approval occurs, and it sounds like maybe if the Japanese in the Japanese page said, "Here's how our approval process was done," maybe you would have seen that and said, "Oh, I shouldn't approve this because now I realize their standard process is 2 LGTMs." So, does that make sense or no? I think Kaiming is right. Either way, this is very rarely going to happen because,
Yeah.
I mean, look what keys had to turn. One, Irvi can read Japanese, which I did not know. Good to know. Reads Japanese, and she had authority at a high level. So the odds of people having those 2 keys to be able to turn and cause this to happen, there's probably not a lot of people in our community like that, is my guess. I could be wrong. With great power comes great responsibility, Irvi. Having approvals and the ability to read other languages, that's very impressive.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that this kind of things doesn't happen again in the future. So if we have some kind of rules, maybe I can read those. And but with your comments of like you need only like LGTM if you think it's like good for you or things like that, then
I think
yeah,
here's
it's
the
good.
easiest solution. So just ping language owners in GitHub. They have aliases, right? When you're trying to give an approval level, you can
Yes.
just ping them. Then maybe just leave an LGTM, or no, if there's any reason to merge it in an urgent speed, maybe you can do it. But yeah, at least you have to ping them.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's good resolution. Excellent. All right, are we ready for the next topic? Soko, the next topic is yours.
Yes. I just hope to share that there are some localization related files which Korean localization teams does not have ownership. For
Yeah,
instance,
these right.
two. Right. Oh, thank you for sharing.
Oh,
Yeah, actually, I
first one
have
is-
the same problem as well. So
I think so. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You already know. Yeah, this website, I18N directory, there are TOML file for every localization languages. But in case of this directory, in case of this file, we don't have ownership. Localization team does not have ownership. So when we try to change this file, then we need to request approval from the English owner, maybe not English owner or leader's owner, leader's approval.
this, right?
Also, the README is also similar situation. So I hope to share, but I'm not sure the solution. Maybe we hope to get ownership for that TOML file, but I'm not sure how. Maybe there's some technical problem in here.
I am not sure. I'm trying to remember the history of why the permissions were broken up that way. But that's certainly something we can go back and check with the SIG Doc chair and leads and see if there's a way that can be done. I think that's a great issue.
I think this has been brought it up as a topic before in the SIG Docs meeting. Yeah, I remember that Jim and Zach were talking about this.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, and I think the reason why the permission is not handled properly is because they are not in the proper directory. I mean, they are, but you know, it's really seems like it's really hard to separate the permission on each file in the same directory.
Right, it is kind of technical issue in GitHub.
GitHub or Prod,
in
I
Pro.
don't know. Yeah.
But maybe if
And
we
also these pages, these files you were talking about, the TOML file, are part of the site configuration files.
Right.
I think the SIG Doc chairs are reluctant to release those controls to every team because it's too easy to break the whole site, maybe.
Break everything. Right.
Oh,
So
yeah. Like, for example, adding new metadata or something, right?
Right.
okay.
That makes sense.
So actually, those files don't change every day, right? It's pretty stable. It doesn't look like big problem for Chinese at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think Kaiming is right now that I remember that's probably the reason that if those if done improperly, it can cause a lot of damage. But maybe there's a way that we can make sure that if changes are needed to be approved, that there's a way to be expedited and given priority. Maybe a process there. So
Next time you are changing this kind of site configuration files, just ping the SIG chairs. It's their job, right?
Right. So
yeah, currently we are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, assign them.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I just share the situation, not the providing solution.
Right, but we can still bring it up at the next SIG Docs regular meeting and just say, hey, be on the lookout that there are times when they need an urgent change and they'll be looking to send a Slack ping to the chairs. We can definitely emphasize that. That would be great. Excellent.
Yeah, for my side, that's all.
Okay, good. Any other topics for today, or we can end early?
Actually, Brad, I have a suggestion
Yes.
to the whole team. So every day I'm watching the website Git repo. I got email notifications every a few minutes,
Hmm.
but sometimes I just don't know if a change is about Chinese localization or some other languages from the email list. Because in my email list, it only shows me the title of a PR. And from the title, I cannot tell whether that PR is about Chinese or Korean or Japanese. So
Gotcha.
maybe we can propose some practice across the community. If you are proposing a PR for Korean,
Hmm.
maybe you can put a square KO square in your title. That will save my life at least. Yeah,
So you're basically suggesting that we should add something like brackets, then like language, like
yes,
as a prefix of
In
your
the
yeah,
pull request.
as a prefix, yeah, that would save a lot of time. If I'm
Like for
saying,
example,
okay, this is
ko
about
or ja
KO,
or
delete it. Is
or
about Japanese. I don't
zh,
speak
right?
Japanese. Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yes, that will help a lot.
Yeah, and then just as the default, if it doesn't have the tag, you would assume it was English, is my guess.
Yes.
Hmm. I think that's a great idea. So that's an easy best practice convention that if the teams follow, and maybe we document in the in our documentation, would save at least Kai Ming a lot of time and probably others.
So it's
Yes.
just it is just my opinion. Because I don't really use email for checking my pull request list. Whenever I check if there's a new pull request on GitHub, I just use the language tag. Like for example, a label. Yeah, label. So here's not label. Yeah, label language JA.
Well, that's how I do it as well.
Yeah.
But you and I are using the model of we go and check the issues list or what have you, or the PR list.
Mhm.
It would be interesting. The other option would be if it could be added automatically, right? So it should know, right? It's knowing, is the label getting is the label getting added automatically based on which repo, which directory, right? So
Yes.
it'd be interesting if the other option would be to maybe put that in automatically, add it, when the PR comes in, that they would just put a prefix or something so that it does show up in the email piece. That might be the other way. I don't know.
Mm.
Automation's always
Yeah.
wonderful if we can get it. I don't know if it's possible or not. Um, so maybe that's another one we should just follow up on. I guess it depends on how many people think it's valuable if we can get them to add it in manually, or if it's one of those we should try automatically. I guess it's up to the teams. So, I mean, Kaiming, if you talk to the Chinese team and they all agree it's a good idea, at the very least, all the Chinese team could do it, right?
Yeah.
So I also have
I
the
just
same
noticed the
problems
Japanese team
actually.
is already doing it, but
Yeah,
using
yeah, I noticed that.
JA, yeah, J comma, that is also useful.
Go ahead, Irving. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so basically I also have similar problem to Kiming whenever I go to my emails and then I need to review some stuff, then there is no titles on that except for Japanese, because Japanese is already doing that for quite a long time. And I noticed that it's really useful if we can add some kind of prefix to the title of the PR. because that's the one that actually shown when
you
I
mean
open
this?
my emails. Yes, yeah, that's really useful.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a little shorter than the brackets. It saves you one character. Right? So brackets is 2 characters.
Oh, you mean colon? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, colon saves you a character.
Hmm.
We all want to save time. So that's something to think about for the teams. I guess that's a per team decision for the simple solution.
Okay, I will share it to Korean localization team, and I will hear their opinion,
Great.
and I will share again. Thank you.
Yeah. And since we're already doing JA colon, maybe we ought to just stick with that. And so we already got a convention. So if your team is willing to do it, just make it the language and then the colon, if that makes sense.
In case of Korean localization team, we use postfix actually in Korean translation in
Into
Korean, like that.
Korean.
Yeah. So maybe if the prefix is better for the email checkers, and the reason why we didn't use the prefix is that actually we discussed about this issue already, and people said they hope to use the full language, I mean, full sentence. So we just followed our preference. But if using prefix is beneficial for maintaining our website, then I will discuss it again and we will change it.
Okay. I mean, as long as it's somewhere in the subject line, right? That's all that matters. I mean, it'd be nice if they were all prefixes, but as long as it's somewhere, is my guess, then Kaiming or others would know to look for it. Okay, so the something to let us know. Good action item, Soko, to go see what if we can be more consistent. Well, I didn't think we had a large agenda for today, and I didn't think we would use the whole hour, but we did, and it was incredibly productive. A lot of great topics. So I think we're out of time unless there's any quick closing statements. Otherwise, I will see you in a month. I wish everyone happy holidays and time off if you're taking it. And once again, a really, really productive meeting. Lots of good action items here. So I'm going to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to stop recording. Thanks everyone for attending.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.